Here's Archie's Travels, Chapter 48, called Big Office Chair. Back at the station, Jack was sitting in his big fat office chair. He was smoking a cigar and he scratched at his big black beard. He was nearly 60 and early retirement and a good pension was only a few years away. An expensive divorce had taken away his three-bedroom house, but he was content now in his large cozy bungalow, and he had everything that he needed: a big TV, big speakers, and a big snarling angry dog. His romantic days were far behind him, and now all that he wanted was peace and quiet, and the spoils of an occasional scam or burglary. As far as he was concerned, he was entitled to it. His future was as bright as a red balloon. Little did he know that it was about to burst. They gingerly approached the caravan, and Rocky looked at them, and he began to snarl. Then he began to growl. Luckily, James had a neat trick up his sleeve. He wasn't sure if dogs liked mince pies, but in his experience they would eat anything. He reached into his pocket and he produced a fat, juicy-looking mince pie, and he threw it carefully before a hungry Rocky, who was sitting snugly in the snow. Rocky stopped snarling and he began to sniff at the pie. It had such a strong aroma that even James could feel it tantalizing his nostrils and his taste buds. It smelled wickedly delicious, he thought. It was bound to work. Rocky took his eyes off them and he stared at the pie, looking in puzzled, and then he began to lick his lips, and the dark look in his eyes softened. He gave the pie a curious nibble, and then he bit into it. James edged carefully forward, and he reached into his other pocket and he produced another mince pie, and he placed it gingerly next to the other one. Rocky didn't even look up. He was so busy devouring the delicious pie to notice anything. James walked around the caravan while Dolly and Archie acted as lookouts, and all around them was woodland, but they had to be careful. It was impossible to know if anyone was wandering about undetected. James stood on the wheel of the caravan, and then he inched himself up towards the small window, and once again it was slightly open, and he managed to climb through it. His legs sticking out, and it was a curious sight for anyone walking around. Fortunately, no one was at that moment. Rocky gave him a cursory look, and then he just carried on munching. Finally, James was inside, and he began to look round eagerly.